Did you know that the most game-changing drone in modern warfare isn't American or Chinese, but Turkish? Turkey's Bayraktar TB2 is reshaping conflicts from Syria to Ukraine and redefining the nation's role in the global arms trade, all off the back of visionary Selçuk Bayraktar. But who is he, and how is it that he transformed Turkey into a drone superpower seemingly overnight? The numbers don't lie. The world wants Turkey's weapons, a lot. Turkey's arms exports grew faster than any other countries in the 2010s, with deliveries up 69% between 2018 and 2022 alone. How did this happen so rapidly? After all, a few decades ago, Turkey wouldn't even be able to create such demand, let alone fulfill it. But now its private military industry has exploded. Turkey has especially focused on making drones at home. There are now over 2,000 drone-related private companies in the country. Turkey is a self-contained drone supply chain, manufacturing parts ranging from simple screws to complicated lasers. That's not an accident. It's the result of decades of successful policy. Make your own arms became a motto among Turkish policymakers after it came under a weapons embargo following its intervention in Cyprus. To make good on the motto, Turkey launched a public-private partnership initiative to encourage homegrown weapons makers. The Presidency of Defense Industries, which procures weapons for the government, was created in 1985. Remember this organization because it will be important soon. In 1987, the Turkish Armed Forces Foundation was born. It's a government nonprofit organization that owns majority stock in important defense firms, including Turkish Aerospace Industries, the company behind Turkey's coming fifth-generation fighter jet, the Taycan. But it doesn't stop there. A whole new sector came to life more recently. Turkey's domestic arms industry grew much faster after Recep Tayyip Erdogan took power in 2003. Erdogan has been the most influential leader in Turkey since the republic's founder, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. It's to the point that he's called a sultan. And what's a sultan without his own weapons industry? Like much of Turkey as a whole, Erdogan has transformed its military landscape. He curtailed the ability of the armed forces to intervene in the country's politics. But that didn't mean he neglected the military. Far from it. Instead, a new military elite formed in Turkey. What does that look like? Just follow the money and you'll get the answer. Erdogan has spent a lot on Turkey's defense. The budget increased to $9 billion the year before he took office, to over $20 billion in 2019. These were the years that international demand for Turkish weapons exploded. In particular, Erdogan has focused on drones. Turkey realized the importance of drones early, thanks to its long conflict with the Kurdish separatists. Erdogan's government wanted to become a world leader in the new field. In 2004, the president of Defense Industries began granting large amounts of money to private sector companies, the ones the TAF did not own stock in. This was an innovation. The objective? Supercharged domestic drone production. To say that the effort succeeded would be one of the understatements of the century. The state-owned Turkish Aerospace Industries is an important part of the domestic drone ecosystem, but thanks to the Presidency of Defense Industries' support, Turkey's private drone companies are thriving. The big kids on the block, the ones that make the drones you're likely familiar with, are Lentatech, Asusguard, STM, and most of all, Baykar, which has made the name Bayraktar famous. But who is Selçuk Bayraktar, and what role did he play in Turkey's drone explosion? For starters, he's married to one of Erdogan's daughters, but that's the least interesting thing about him. The godfather of Turkey's army of drones is an MIT dropout. That's not to say Selçuk Bayraktar didn't take his education seriously. He majored in electrical engineering at Istanbul Technical University, the top engineering school in the country. His work was so good that the Ivy League University of Pennsylvania offered him a master's scholarship. For most people, a master's thesis competes with watching paint dry in the boring Olympics. But Bayraktar's wasn't boring. His was based on an algorithm that allowed unmanned helicopters to land in challenging conditions. How challenging? Landing vertically on a wall if they need to challenging. It had immediate, real-world applications. With such success behind him, it's not surprising that he didn't want to spend more time on his doctorate. He came home in 2007 with a big idea. His family already owned an auto parts company, but with Selçuk's thesis and all the money churning around to encourage UAV production in Turkey, the business decided to get into the drone game. Selçuk became the chief technology officer of the firm. It got off the ground quickly with the development of the Bayraktar Mini UAV. The drone was so successful that it was accepted for military use in December 2007. It's been a popular export item since, with Qatar, Libya, and Ukraine all using it. But that was just the beginning. The Mini UAV is a surveillance drone. Turkey's drones are a lot more lethal than that, and in August 2014, Baykar changed the game with maybe the most famous drone in the world, the Bayraktar TB2. Selçuk Bayraktar saw an opportunity when the United States banned the export of killer drones to Turkey. It proved beneficial for the Turks in the long run because they were forced to innovate again. The resulting TB2 was a breakthrough for Baykar and Turkey's military-industrial complex. The early drone, the TB1, relied on imported components. But Bayraktar didn't want to rely on that, so the TB2 is entirely homegrown. The company's success meant Turkey would have a lot more sway on the international arms market since it controlled the supply chain, provided the drone performed well. There was no need for worry. The TB2 is one of the most effective drones on the market. Operators can control the TB2 remotely, but it can also fly on its own once it's in the air. It has a top speed of 250 kilometers per hour, an 8.2 kilometer ceiling, and a range of 6,000 kilometers. To put that into perspective, if you were in New York and for some reason needed to destroy a target in London, you would be able to do it with the TB2. You'd have plenty of options when your drone reaches its destination too. It hosts 4 hardpoints that can carry anti-tank missiles and laser-guided bombs. In the hands of skilled operators, it can even penetrate Russian-made air defenses if they aren't concentrated too heavily. That's thanks to its carbon composite mainframe, which makes it less detectable to radar. The TB2 quickly proved itself in Syria, made a huge splash in the 2020 war between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and achieved worldwide fame in the early days of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It even took part in the sinking of the cruiser Moskva. The price for these features? About $5 million each. It's a bargain few armed forces can resist. The Bayraktar TB2 is the world's most popular export drone. 31 countries now use it. The demand has made the godfather of Turkish drones fabulously rich. Selçuk Bayraktar owns 52.5% of Baykar stock and is now chairman of the board as well as the CTO. At 45 years old, he's worth $1.2 billion. He's even being seen as a possible successor for Erdogan. What's a sultan without a grand vizier, right? Those aren't our words. They're the words from people in Erdogan's Justice and Development Party. The grand vizier isn't resting on his laurels, though. He wants to help Turkey in its ambition to become one of the world's 3 top drone sellers. That requires continued innovation and a strategy against heavy competition. There's a colossal obstacle Turkey is up against in its quest to become an arms exporting powerhouse: the United States, which made up 36% of the world's arms market in 2019. But here's a clue about why Turkey is succeeding despite its underdog status. The Bayraktar TB2 has 31 users. The second most popular drone for worldwide use is the American MQ-9 Reaper. The number of users worldwide? 8. Let's take a look at the Reaper. It's faster than the TB2 at 482 kilometers per hour. It can fly higher, up to 15.4 kilometers. It can carry more weapons with 7 hardpoints. But it has a much lower range at 1,900 kilometers. The price? $30 million each. Here's the secret sauce. Turkey's drones offer capable features at a much more affordable price, and it's not stopping. In October 2023, the Bayraktar TB3 had its first flight. A month later, the new drone showed it could take off and land on ships. Turkey expects it to enter service in 2025 and intends to use it on its first quasi-aircraft carrier, the TCG Anadolu. Because it's optimized for naval use, the TB3 will have a 200-kilometer range, but exceed its predecessor in speed, flight ceiling, and firepower with 6 hardpoints to the TB2's 4. Takeoff and landings will be automatic. This thing can even stay in the skies for a full day. The TB3 will know more too, boasting electro-optical and infrared imaging and an AESA radar. Bottom line, the Bayraktar TB3 will be smarter and punch harder than its predecessor, all while operating from ships. The price? Probably similar to the TB2, maybe a little more, much cheaper than the Reaper. And its cost-effectiveness matters a lot. Turkey's drones can be replaced fast, making them an ideal choice for a war of attrition like we're seeing in Ukraine right now. So it's little wonder why, in this time of returning state-based military competition, Turkey's drones are so popular. Their combination of versatility and affordability make them naturals in this environment. The proof? 4 of the world's top 15 export drones are Turkish products. The United States has only 3. And there's more to come. Remember that 5th-generation fighter? Turkey's drone godfather wants to make sure that Khan won't be flying alone because he's developing an unmanned fighter jet, the Kızılelma. Bayraktar boasted that his would be the first drone fighter jet to take off and land on a ship, confident he could beat the United States and Israel. The Kızılelma will have stealth features, including an internal weapons bay. In a bit of a 180 from the Make Your Own Arms motto, Turkey has partnered with Ukraine on the Kızılelma. A Ukrainian company called Ivchenko Progress will make the engine for this drone fighter. This strategic partnership signals a potential shift in Turkey's philosophy, where it will welcome international cooperation. That's a good way to set the stage for even more international sales. So where do things go from here? What does Turkey's success mean for the global balance of drone power? Again, follow the money. In 2022, Turkey exported $4.4 billion worth of drones, making it comparable to the United States and China. But what's even more interesting is that this figure is about 44% of Turkey's total arms exports, which hit the $10 billion mark that year. What does that mean? In terms of proportion, Turkey is, more than any other country, a drone power. Demand has proven so high that there's a 3-year waiting list for the TB2 alone. Not content to rest there, Turkey exported $7 billion worth of drones in 2023. But can it keep this pace up? Things look promising for Ankara so far. More customers are on the way. In 2023, Saudi Arabia ordered $3 billion worth of Baykar's Akinci drone, the bigger, badder brother of the TB2 that can carry 10 times the payload. But it's not just the Saudis. Other customers lining up at Turkey's door include Albania, Kuwait, and Romania. 15 more are discussing purchases, ranging from Eastern Europe to Africa to Indonesia. With the drone product line increasing by the year, Turkey looks poised to fulfill the demand. That doesn't mean it's all smooth flying from here, though. With Russia gaining ground in Ukraine, the future of the Kızılelma is uncertain. And although Erdogan has increased Turkey's military spending in absolute dollars, it's significantly below the 3.7% of GDP it was before he took power. With tensions increasing around the world, Turkey will need to invest more in its productive capacity to meet the rising demand. After all, you can't expect countries under threat like the Baltic states to wait for 3 years. They'll go elsewhere, including to Turkey's primary rivals, the United States and China. But for now, Turkish drones are flying high, thanks to the meeting of one man's genius with a national industrial policy that paid off in a big way. Bye for now.